You all have it?
I'm going to open it up now, but yeah.
You don't have the Sefer at home.
I do, but it's in the other room. I'm already locked in and not disturbed, so I don't want to mess with a good thing.
Good idea. Yeah. All right. So let's just go through it here. Beis sugei nisim, two kinds of nisim shalamarim b'derech hateva, v'nisim ham'levoshim b'teva. So hide in teva, and u'b'nisim ham'levoshim b'teva gufa beis sugim. In the nisim in teva, there are two types. Nisim shanes nikar behem, where you can see the miracle. That's like Chanukah and Purim. It's mulubash in teva, but you can discern it readily. And then there's nisim shalavush teva malim malnes shebehem. And then there's nisim that the one for whom the miracle was occurred is not even aware that it happened. In the brackets, in balanes makir ben nisay. It's a quote. The one to whom it happened to doesn't know. And those sheshorsham nailim beyoser niflois. It's this second category, namely nisim that are malubash in teva, that is niflois. And that explains why. Beis biyudim b'maylis nisim levoshim teva. Why would we say it? It's counterintuitive in a sense that the nisim dafka in teva and not obvious and transcend nature come from a higher source. So there's two milas. Aleph, what we're getting is that the Eira Bligvol itself reaches into the world rather than shatter it. So it's an expression of the very essence of Hashem, who is the essence of all things and is present equally in Gvul as he is in Bligvol, in the highest levels of boundlessness. That's the first point. The second mile is when there's a miracle, it shatters nature, so it dismisses nature, it doesn't control it. It just pushes it away. But here, when you have a ness that is evolved, that is filtered through nature, so this is the demonstrative of Hashem's control of nature itself. Now that's one side of the coin. And then, in contrast, is the virtue from the other side, as it were, of the nest which is totally beyond teva, because there shanisim him begilui. It's not so. There's gilui likus begolui, and moreover, shashliti loidak al oifenat teva. The mila here is that not we're manipulating nature, alagam al metzias teva. When nature is shattered, so it's a greater control in the sense that it's completely dismissed more than controlled. All the rules of nature, as opposed to manipulating nature, here it's dismissed it. That's its mila. Its mila is in the mila of these nisim is in the purity of a likus and the insignificance of welt. Whereas the first oif and the mila is Hashem's engagement, the greatest, the mile of a likus, so much that it's nimshach in welt, right? There's two, it's like echad and yachid. Echad is a likus in the world, and yachid is the exclusivity of a likus that's totally beyond creation, before whom all is naught and nothing. So each one has a mile. There's a mile of yachid and a mile of echad. But we say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem echad, because for us, and the ultimate kavanah is likus nimshach. That's a likus is nimshach in creation, and the whole chiddush of lasid lava is going to be, as he goes up to say now, the arena niflois. That although it's nimshach in creation, it's in a state of full revelation. But before that, it continues. The emes is, if we look at this. I'm going to, I'm going to mute you all, but just unmute yourselves as you wish to say something. So this will make it easy. Now I forgot where it is. Must be here. Yeah.
The bottom left.
Yeah. Okay. So please unmute yourself with questions and comments. So even nature itself, one can discern the obligable property, and that is in the eternity of it. Atmidius, as explained. The eternal unchangingness properties of nature also is indicative of the Ein Sof HaBli. We might add, in addition to that, which he brought from the Akedah, namely that the stars and there are certain, the celestial entities in the world itself actually remain undiminished, and then the species perpetuate themselves. Even though the individual creature doesn't live forever, but it does, in theory, through the ability to propagate, to bear offspring, unless tampered by man, that would be forever. There are some species that are extinct, but the teva can reproduce itself endlessly, points to the Bligvul. We might add to that, the recent discovery, relatively recent discoveries of science, of the atom, or for that matter, nothing fundamentally disappears. Nothing. We can't destroy anything. We can only break it down. We can split it. The endless cycle of energy and matter, but things don't disappear in essence. At their core, subatomic level, you can split the atom. Okay, so the atom can break up, but the subatomic particles will remain forever. So that's even another example of how science is abetting and helping us understand Torah, that there's this eternal property in the very nature of nature. But that, of course, is not obvious. And that is, we need to look at that under the atomic microscope, or even something more powerful than that. So the point is, let's continue. So I'm not going to go into all the detail now, but the point was that this Hamshach is through the Irakav, without repeating what this means. Tiferes Hanela means, as we explained then, an atzmizdik, property that the Eir carries. Why is it atzmizdik? Because Tiferes is the fusion of Chesed and Gevurah. And whenever you have the fusion of opposites, that draws on essence. So that's why there is this eternal property, even in nature. As he goes on to say, that's why nature itself is on the one hand finite, and at the very same time, probing deeper, it's infinite. That's because it draws on Tiferes Hanela. But at any rate, all of that's concealed. But he mentions this because the miracles that happen within nature, he's really saying, that's not really foreign to nature in essence, because nature itself is eternal and miraculous. So these two kinds of nisim, namely the ones above nature, the ones that come in nature, both of them, of course, are rooted in the Ein itself. So the nisim that are invested in nature, that is the reach of Bligvul, that it even is present and contains, in the words here of this summary, gives place for the finite. That demonstrates that this is beyond nature, how the Ein Sof is beyond it. What he's really talking about is the famous statement in the Zohar, or maybe it may be in It's Chaim, that Ein Sof is l'mayla adin sof, u'lamata mata adin tachlis. The Ein Sof is high without end and descends without fathoming it.
Adin kates.
Huh?
Adin kates.
Adin tachlis. So the point being, these two properties of the Ein Sof, it's utter transcendence and it's utter ability to be within Gvul, because that's the shleimus of the true shleimus of infinite is not being limited infinite alone, but being present even in finite. And as he said before, that's all rooted in the essence.
Rabbi, so the contrast between, or the timidius of what's going on in Teva, is that kind of an example of nisim that are melubash b'teva, or is he bringing it kind of as a, so to speak, a mashal of?
He's saying that be'emes it's going on all along. It's just not obvious there. The gili of it all is in these two kinds of nisim. The be'etzem, it's in Teva itself. Teva itself carries the shleimus of Ein Sof, and therefore it's both finite and infinite simultaneously. Externally finite, but upon discernment, infinite and eternal. But he added there, but it's not begoloi, it's behelen. So the nisim, the two kinds of nisim we're talking about, demonstrate that for us. Okay, let's go quickly. Nisim on the Voshem B'Teva, Nisim Shemani B'Teva. So now these miracles we're talking about in nature and beyond nature, that's similar to Habitl, the Kabbalah's oil. The bitl of Kabbalah's oil is when a person surrenders. Shurak b'negei l'maisa b'poil v'lei b'chol mitziyusei. Again, the servant would rather be doing something else, but I surrender in Peil Mamish. So that's a nes melubash in Teva. But bitl v'yichudi ilah shub'chol mitziyusei, and the bitl v'yichudi ilah, which is like the son as opposed to the son, as opposed to the servant, which he does so willingly and lovingly. So that is a bittul that pervades his entire mitzias, avlo mitzad mitzias. But the downshot is that it's not really expressive of elikus. It's expressive of his desire to want to be connected. So that's the maila of Yehuda Tator. The maila of the Evid is when you look at him and see his Kabbalah cell, what you're seeing there is elikus. You're not seeing him. You're seeing his surrender to God. He points to God. Whereas you look at the Eved, you're impressed with, the Ben, or the minister in our examples that we gave, we're impressed with we're taken by the minister himself. His Metzias. So the mile in each one. That's this second paragraph is a reflection of the previous paragraph. There's the mile of each one. There's a mile in surrender, and there's the mile in engagement or being suffused with Elikus. Each one has its mile and its chsaron. And that's going to be the chiddush of Lasad Lavai, that there's no chesroinus. Only the milas of both will be revealed. This whole discussion till now is to bring out, there's a mila in Haid in Teva, there's a mila in Teva. There's a mila in Yechudi Ilah, there's a mila in Yehuda Tator. There's a mila in the Balchuv, there's a mila in the Tzaddik, or the Beinani and the Tzaddik. Each one has its distinct mila. Iskafia versus Ishapcha. Lasad Love is the fusion of Iskafia and Ishapcha. As we explained, but let's see it further. So the chiddush of I will show the wonders, which the wonders we said are all rooted in levadoi, that which is the likus that's invested in nature, that will be revealed like the Ein Sof Hablig, like the miracles that shatter nature, both milas. Namely, on the one hand, it'll be engaging in Teva. Well, so that's the Maila of Yehuda Tator, that's the Maila of the Eved. Well, and the Maila of the Baal Tshuva, etc. Although it doesn't give those examples, but these are all related. On the other hand, there will be nothing outside the revelation. Like you said before, that the Tshuva itself, the Iskafia, the breaking itself, the Kabbalah cell itself will be seen as who? As all him, as all Elikus. And that's like a Meshalassid Love, Itir and Hashem, that the Neshama will be nourished by the Guf. Why? Given Shiyah Boy, because the Neshama will then experience Hein Mailis Habitl the Neshama, its own bitl which suffuses it. It wants godliness, doesn't want anything else. Shubachol Mitziyusi, that defines it. It's an entity that loves God, but at the same time being nourished by the guf, because it will experience that its love for God is also Him, not its own. the mile of iskafia. Vein mile is a bittul da guf, the mile of the bittul the guf. Shemitzad alikus, when the guf does something, it's not an expression of where the guf is holding, it's where the guf is surrendering to. The guf points to the Eibishter, not itself, not me, I'm doing because he wants. So the neshama will experience its own metzias as not its own metzias, but as a likus. Again, the tshuva velosid love, the tshuva before Mashiach is a kind of teshuva, because this is a chana, we stand on the threshold of Mashiach, where the person looks honestly at his own tshuva and says, this is not me doing this. It's all orchestrated milamayla. It's all the Eivishter. So the tshuva itself is with this true bittul. As we just said now, this avodah is required even now. So this is the chiddush of this of now. Is avodah of kabbalas oil, except we'll see that then it's going to be that itself is all mitzat his koyach, it's all him. And that's a conclusion. One of the answers is why the plural is because it includes also kriyas yamsuf. And that was in the sinas koyach for the final splitting of the river, the mighty river, the Euphrates River, into the 7 streams. Why is that so critical? Because therein lies what we're talking about, the shleimish of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Why? Because the chibur of Erin Sof HaBligvul im HaGvul de Teva Oila. Because in Kriyas Yamsuf, more so than Yitzias Mitzrayim, because Yitzias Mitzrayim overtly was the shattering of nature. But here, nature itself, the sea becomes dry land. It's the fusion of sea and dry land, as he explained. And he adds in brackets, that's why the prophecy describes Hashem will make us pass through in shoes. Why is that negeya? How we will walk. And of course it means baruchnias. Because all pointing to Avodah Kabbalas Oil, because we have to elevate nature, pummel it, and refine it, so that nature itself becomes the keli for the bligvul. In nature itself, seamlessly, gvul and bligvul as one, all rooted in atzmos. How do you make a shoe? You take this, it's the idea of taking a raw hide and turning it into supple leather. So this is the softening, as it were, of the nature of the guf. That's through Kabbalas Oil. He says, actually, this all existed even in Yitzias Mitzrayim itself, but it was all concealed, because overtly nature was shattered. But I said, love will be open. That's what the Zayah says. I will show him. Who's the him? Moshe Rabbeinu. Why is that negaya Moshe Rabbeinu? Because he is the one. It's through Moshe Rabbeinu and the empowerment of Moshe Rabbeinu that unlocks our own neshama and so on, that opens up the channel for the niflois, which will happen when Mashiach will come. And likewise Moshe in every generation. And we mentioned then also, we just in brief, I won't repeat it again, why in the Haggadah Moshe Rabbeinu isn't mentioned. The Be'emes is mentioned, and mentioned in a very essential, deep way, as we pointed out, in a pasuk, in a part of the pasuk, which is not really required for the whole discussion there between the sages, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Akiva. All right, friends. Now we begin. I don't understand. I thought I put this on. Okay, sure. The new Maimer, you all have it? I sent you the new Maimer.
Rabbi, I just have a question on,
yes,
on the last Maimer. Is when Mashiach comes and you're going to have the mixture of both? Is it simply that we're going to see like hashgacha pratis, but in the details, not just like when something happens, like wow, that was hashgacha pratis, but we're going to see Hashem's hashgacha pratis in all the things that we don't notice it in now? Is as simple as that?
That's in a Gileadic way, yes. Yeah. But it's more than that. It's even in our own, the big chiddush is not just things happening in the world, but in our own choices, even in our own avodah. which till now was my, my surrender, will be seen as all his, all him. Not this, not my surrender. That's not correctly put. That which I wanted to do. That's in the quote, which I wanted to do. In the areas, okay, surrender can be part of it. There's the I want to do Kabbalah's oil too, but we're separating Kabbalah's oil, which is I generally don't want to, from the tzaddik Yehonatan David who does want to. So the chiddush will be even in that which I contributed, whatever that the subtlety of that is, that'll all be seen as Eined Mulvada, as all him.
And I guess the converse too, even that where kind of I didn't contribute, like there was part of me in that too.
Elaborate, where I didn't contribute, meaning?
So even that where, so on the one hand, even that where it was inspiration and it was my Metzias, I was feeling it, that was still.
Yeah, that's something.
Even the Kabbalah Zayel had a Gilui in it too.
Right. So in other words, the neshama being nisen from the guf means that the neshama, it wants, but it'll be nisen from the guf because it looks for the guf didn't want and did it. So that's, clearly, points to Hashem. So the neshama will be nourished by that I want is also thanks to him. And the Kabbalah's oil, on the flip side is, the Kabbalah's oil of the guf, or the avoid of Iskaf Yehuda, which is where I had to surrender myself. So I was out of the picture. Points to Hashem? No, even I was in the picture, because me in the picture is also Elikus. That's really this come down to the same thing in both ways. All right, Yidden, we're ready now for.
But can I don't know why, but I had a little bit of a different perspective. I understood, and he will show him wonders. I thought like the end result is that we're going to see it from every level. The revelation is going to be completely transparent from the smallest of anything to the big, which is how you're going to be able to connect the infinite with the finite in everything.
Which is what we're saying.
I'm able to connect to the goof because there will be complete transparency in to the most minimal part. Like that's where.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Yeah, we're saying that.
I thought that was the end result.
That's what we're saying. We're saying that in different words. Okay, we're ready for the mimer. The next mimer. Yes.
Rabbi, if you could, what is the name of the mimer? So I'm just going to look it up online and have it in front of me.
I try and send it to you. You have to go to find it. You have to go to Lahak.
Yep.
Okay, so then they have on the right-hand side the Maimare Chak Admur, or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, click on that, and then all the years are going to pop up. And then you go to Tafshin Chaf 1960, and then you got to click on Show Everything. This is all in Hebrew. You got it? No problem?
Tafshin
Chaf. And then they only give you like the first 10 whatever Fabrengens, and then you click on all of them. You'll come down to the second line of Pesach, the Maimer VaYomer Yehosua. We can actually send it to you. If we have your, if you tell us your email, someone will send it to you. Yeah?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, okay, just announce it. Adam's going to send it to you.
VAIROGS @gmail.com.
Just a second.
Sorry, just repeat that. VAIROGS.
GS.
Okay. It's on the way.
Beautiful. Shkoyach. Got it.
You got it?
Sure.
Okay. Friends, so the Maimah begins with a quote from the beginning of the Haggadah, right after the four sons. And the Haggadah begins in the beginning. Our forefathers were idol worshippers, and now the Omnipresent has brought us near or close to his Avodah. And then it brings the pasuk, Shenemar, VaYomer Yeshua al kol ha'am, and Yeshua said to all of the people, Koyamar Hashem Elokei Yisrael, so says God, the Lord of Israel. Be'ever ano Yehoshua v'Seichem, you originally lived on the other side of the river, and then as idol worshippers, and then Hashem drew you near. That's referring to Avram's father, Terach, and so on. And then Hashem drew you near. This context here, this is Yeshua's address to the people just before his passing. He makes a covenant with them, and he reminds them, he recalls their history, and he asks them to commit to the service of the true God, to Hashem, knowing when he passed away that there was still much idolatry. The land was still infested with idolatry and tremendous Canaanite influence, and so a great covenant was formed, and that's how the end of the book of Yeshua ends. There are actually two, and the second one, the latter one, is what's being quoted over here, and all the people affirm. And 2 years later, Yeshua, at the age of 110, passes away. Just let's give you the context. Now, let's see the Maimah. So this Maimah was said on the second night of Pesach after the Seder Tavshin Chav. VaYomer Yeshua al kol ha'am. Yeshua said to the people, Koyamar Havai Elokei Yisrael. So says God, the Lord of Israel, that you were idolaters, and I took your father as Avraham, Me'ever Anor, from the other side of the river, and I traveled, I traversed him throughout the entire land of Canaan, and I gave it to him a son Yitzchak, this is all quoting from Yeshua, and then the whole story of Yaakov and his children descended to Egypt, and I took you out of there, describing all that God had done to the Jewish people, very briefly, making them his people, and then challenging the people to commit and choose God. You have to understand this story that Yeshua relates, that I took your father, referring to Avraham, and then all the way down to the Yaakov of Mitzrayim, and Yaakov and his sons descended to Egypt. This is a simple matter known to everyone. And what's the chiddush? Now, it's not simply that Yeshua is recounting history, because he introduces it with the words, Ad she'omer al zeh koyamar Hashem. So says God, is repeating God's words to him now, shebo lehadova b'nevuah, that Hashem is conveying to him as a prophecy. So Hashem's conveying to him as a prophecy that which everybody knows. Now this question is asked, interestingly, in the Zohar itself. And the Zohar answers, that the Pasuk in Yeshua in his prophecy is making known the Tivu Sagi Ovad Kuchebricha B'Yisrael, a great good God did to the Jewish people. That he chose their forefathers. And made them a holy chariot, like a Merkava. And he made them a holy elevated chariot, the Kori, to his glory. And he took them out from this supernal river. And this is what the pasuk says, Koyamar Hashem, what Yeshua is saying. So says Hashem, your forefathers, from time immemorial, live on the other side of the river, and that's where I took you from. That's the cryptic answer of the Zohar, which the Maimer is now going to explain. It's a deep Maimer and somewhat Kabbalistic, but Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll try and understand it. The matter is as follows. So what's the river being referred to here? This is the very primal river that the Torah describes at the outset of creation, from which paradise emerges, or rather the river flows and into paradise. The pasuk says, "V'nor yoytze me'eden." There's two things actually. There's paradise and there's Gan Eden. So Eden itself. So the pasuk says, quote, "A river flowed out of Eden, lahashkis es hagon, to water the garden." What are these levels? What's the river, and what is Eden, and what's the river, and what's the garden? He explains. The word Eden, you should know, is rooted in the word, in the translation of delight. Tainuk. At any rate, the Eden who b'chinas chachma, so it goes on chachma. Chachma, of course, is being the highest level of ishtalshalos. And the connection to Eden is that there is this, in the translation I just mentioned, delight, even though in general tainuk is associated with bina, but there's an essential tainuk that a person has in that euphoric discovery of the insight that is non-expressed in the same way as bina is. At any rate, that's in the game. Now, what's relevant now is that Eden is a level of chachma, the nor, and the river b'chinas bina. And the river is bina. And bina is associated, of course, with the rumination, analysis, and that happens in thought. That's where thought is fully manifest. Chachma is not so much thinking, but seeing. The idea explodes in one's head. You're not thinking about it, you're seeing it. But bina is already the analysis which happens at the level of thought. It's a thought process. And what's the association with the river? Just like a river. Its waters do not stop, they constantly flow. Person can't stop thinking, and it's always flowing. So Eden is the level of Chachma, and the river that flows from Eden is Bina, thought. Now, having identified what the river is, now what is God saying here, this prophecy? I took your forefathers, Avraham, from the other side of the river. What does this mean spiritually? But the source of neshamas of Eden, is higher even than the level of what? Of the river, of machshava. And that's the meaning. On the other side of the river, your forefathers dwelled, and I took them there and I brought them down, as we'll see in Teilam Hazeh. Because the neshamas are rooted higher than the level of the river. And this explains the precise terminology of the statement in the Medrash that Eden arose in God's thought. Now, it's a stir to what we just said now, because machshava is the level of Nahar, and we're saying Eden come from a higher level than the machshava, higher than the river, rooted in Eden. So the answer is the diak is Olu b'machshava, ascended in God's thoughts. She'eina omer, it doesn't say Hoya b'machshava, Eden were in God's thoughts, Ela Olu b'machshava, they ascended in Hashem's thoughts, Olu daike. They're pointing to this notion of ascent. That in machshava itself, it's the it's the highest level of machshava, not the classic rumination thinking, but the very source itself. So bottom line is higher than classic machshava. It's Olu b'machshava, the highest levels that straddle if you like, the level of Eden and Nohar. And this is also conveyed in the Zohar. Get another few minutes. Al Pasuk VaYomer Bikurim, where the Torah speaks that they're about Shavuos and the mitzvah to bring the Bikurim, the first fruits. Says the Zohar, this is not only fruits we speak of. Yisrael kadmonim. Yisrael are the kadmonim, are the first ones, the primary ones, the primal ones. Will be kurim, and the first fruits, as it were, the kutchabricho for Hashem. He called in the alma from all the nations of the world. They are His first fruits. And what is meant pirish kadmonim means prior. Another word for it. Kadmon means before, that which becomes before. Hainu, the shorsham, what is the shadish of, what's the source of Neshamas Yisrael? This level identified in Kabbalah, this primal thought, Ak stands for Adam Kadmon, which means of the supernal man, which is a reference to Hashem in general. So the Neshamas come from the uppermost levels of the divine, which is beyond the classic bina, the classic level of machshava. All right, so the statement of the Zohar is reflecting also this idea of Yisrael Oluba Machshava, which is Me'evar Anar, higher than the river, higher than classic Machshava. That's when the Neshamas are rooted. Are we clear? To be continued tomorrow? Yeah, it's Kabbalah language. And still
clearly not understood.
What?
I'm just kidding. Clearly not understood. Just kidding.
No, it's not fine. It's just geography. We just it's words, it's levels, but we understand what they mean in terms at least of the geographical place. Kavayochel Lamaila. The understanding of it, God willing, as the Maimon progresses. But there's still more technical Kabbalah levels to be defined and clarified before the understanding of it all. And the application of it all.
Can you please translate once again
the Zohar?
The Zohar, Metaretz, Shmediba said, Tibu, the first time, the Tibu Sagi Ovid, Kochabicha Yisrael, he did something nice.
Hashem, let's be precise. Tivu Sagi means a great good. Tivu means good, Sagi means great. The Eibishter did to the Yidden, the Yisrael Ba'avosa, that He chose their forefathers, Va'ovidloin, and made them Tzeischa Kadisha Ilah, a holy, elevated chariot, the Korei to His glory. Va'apikloin, and He took them out, Migoy Nahari Ilah, from that supernal river. And that's the meaning, says the Zohar says, the Be'evar Anar, the other side of the river, Yashra V'Seichem Va'ilam, your forefathers had dwelled from time immemorial, from the very beginning. Is that clear? So all to say that what that means now, he says, is that Neshamas Yisrael are rooted in the level of the other side of the river, higher than Machshava, only by Machshava. Or in the words he says now, Machshava K'dum Da'ak. Hashem's Bikurim. We're clear? It's a bit confusing because it's Machshava K'dum Da'ak. And we're saying higher than Machshava. But we're saying there's different levels of Machshava. Classic Machshava is the river. That is conscious streams of thought. We're not talking conscious streams of thought. The highest levels of Machshava. Look, the fact is that even when you experience the Chochmah level, that's happening in your thoughts. But that is subliminal thought that's not flowing, that's higher than words and language. It is some level of thought, but you're seeing it in your mind, hardly encapsulated or captured by the limitations of words and letters, which emerge in classic Machshava. There's many levels to Machshava, friends, but that classic Machshava is associated with some kind of language, and this is beyond language. Ola b'Machshava, the highest levels of experience. On a human level, the parallel is the highest levels of Likus, transcending limitation, even subtle and sublime limitation. All right, friends, to be continued Be'ez Hashem tomorrow.